Hi and welcome to Talking Sense. Today I have a special one for you. This past weekend I was invited to an event called What Women Want. I don't know how I ended up in that discussion, but it was hosted by Pinky Ghelani and it was focused on money, and where they talk about money, you know I have to go into that space. At Centonomy, we are committed to helping you to create wealth, and understanding money and how money works is a key part to that wealth creation journey. So I wanted to share some of the highlights from that event. I hope you'll enjoy. It was a packed out event. It was really, really great. And we'll talk at the end of this video. See you then.
I work for my money. How many of us work for our money? How do we make our money work for us?
It's helpful to have a definition of some kind that is going to help you move forward. So one of the definitions that we use is wealth. So ladies, just shout out. When I say the word wealth, what comes to mind? Money. Okay, what else? Resources, assets, savings, and in Kenya for sure land, right? So it's, look, if you don't define something, then it's hard to move beyond that point. So wealth is the ability to live the lifestyle that you want without having to work for it. What does that mean? First of all, as Terian was saying, you have to define what you want. And she said 500,000. Great. If you have 500,000 shillings every day, then you are well financially, isn't it? But where is that money coming from? That's the second half of the definition, which is without having to work for it. And that's what the wonderful ladies have been talking about in terms of assets with cash flow. So that the cash is coming to you, 500,000 shillings, whether you work or not, that is then financial freedom. Because if you have to work, what happens on the day that you can't? And so when you're investing, look for assets that, as Rina was saying, have cash flow. And the point at which your cash flow from your assets is enough for your daily life, you are then financially free. Now here's the problem, because I was quoted as saying land is not a good, no, it is a good investment. The only thing is land has no what? Cash, until you sell it. So you must understand, when you put your money in the ground, because it's a good investment, when will the cash come through? So ladies, if you're looking for that financial freedom, that number that you're looking for, begin to think about assets over time that will grow and put money in your pocket.
I love this panel. You saw how passionate he is. He had to stand up and actually get his point across. So let's talk a little bit about, these chamas and fulizas and all these loans that are available to us. Waithaka is already shaking his head and like, oh man. Let's start with you then, Waithaka. What do you think of it? And are these good things? Are these progressive things?
Which ones? You said chamas and loans,
okay.
Online loans.
So
chamas?
let's start talking about chamas first of all.
You know what? Change the name. Because chama means so many different things. It's your high school group, it is your family group, whatever it is. In this moment, we're talking about money, so let it be an investment group. They are powerful tools because there's pooled resources. And those pooled resources can enable you to do something that you couldn't do on your own. So as a measure of your chama, ask yourself, is your chama doing something for you that you could not do for yourself? So let me give you an example. Merry-go-rounds, you know them, right? So a merry-go-round is, we are 5 of us or 10 of us, each one of us give 2,000. So at the end of the month, one of us goes home with 20,000 shillings payday, isn't it? So if I'm the last one on the 10th month, if I had just saved the 2,000 bobs, you have achieved the same thing. So what's the difference? So you need to ask yourself, is this chama doing something for me that I could not do on my own? The pooled resources usually are used to buy huge assets that your little money on your own could not be able to achieve. So measure your chama in that way, because they're extremely powerful and have actually led to people getting financially free. Ladies, I know in this room the apps are not the problem, because just looking around, you guys look so lovely. First of all, let me just say that. And the likelihood is it is a credit card that you have access to. In this room, the other form of credit that you're using is called a salary advance. Yeah, it's in this room as well, because you're using next month's money. The idea is, pay attention to where you're borrowing from. Because I know, we hear about this app business. Because if I go in most of the phones here, maybe one or two will have. But you have a credit card that you're using. You borrow from family members. You borrow from yourself from the next month. And unless you get this credit under control, it'll be very difficult to grow. I thought I'd mention that, if you don't mind.
So I have a question for all the panelists. So I want you to imagine a person. I'm going to give you a 20-something-year-old just starting out on life. She's so young. She doesn't know what to invest in, asking for a friend. So, so this young girl doesn't know what to invest in. And if you take out all her responsibilities, rent and the day-to-day cost of living, the way today tomatoes are like gold, there's too much to pay for and very little to save. But still, she wants her money to work for her. So she, on top of the advice that you've given, what else would you advise this young girl to do so that when she's like 10 years from now, she'll be stable and she'll be able to make money without actually working for it?
So, asking for a friend, right? Good. Look, you have to commit yourself to learn something. One of the problems with our education system is it prepares us to be excellent employees when often not empowered to manage our own finances. So here's a couple of things that you can begin to do. First of all, most of us don't know, myself included, before I learned this principle, we don't know where our money actually goes. We know the big ticket items like our rent, we know school fees, we know loan repayments, all because that's somebody else told us to pay them. The rest of the amounts of money like we spend in a place like this, I don't know how many of us actually know. The example I always give is when I did this with my wife now 7 years ago, we found we were spending more on takeout food than our rent. And that's because we couldn't see those small amounts that were leaving our pocket. So the first thing is track your expenses. Write down every single cent that you spend. You will be surprised where your money goes. Once you know where your money goes, then decide. You've heard the message that was told here, put together a budget, which means now you are deciding where your money goes. Please note, I've not told you where you put it. You decide what is important to you and put your money towards that. And in your budget, plan for investment. And the only way to do it well is to go to the person who understands it well. If you go to any one of the investment banks that are here, most of the time the information is free before you actually make the investment. They take your money at the point that you invest. So go and ask the expert, not your auntie, your uncle, your parents. If you can do that, you'll be on your way to wealth.
I'm Farida. I would love to know how to network and how to make it work for you.
One of the programs that we run at Centonomy is called Career Hub, and it is really designed for people who feel that they want to grow in their career. And one of the things that is extremely important in growing your career is networking. And why we designed it is also because people often feel stuck in their job. Like, I'm not getting ahead. What are the things that will get me ahead in my job? And so when we think about networking, we often think about you carry a business card and you hand it over to someone and they might remember you for some reason. And we have found that the most efficient method of networking is when you're able to leave an impression. So don't try and meet 100 people and give 100 business cards. But in this room, if you can meet 5 people and leave an impression, and the impression is usually left when somebody feels like you have something to offer them. One of the things that you find in business is often when you're going to meet someone, it's because you want something from them. Like you want to meet, like on this panel, I was so excited when I was behind there. You want to meet them because now I know if I talk to Terianne, she's going to give me a spot on her TV station. So I'm coming to her from my perspective. But if I came to her offering her value, the likelihood of her remembering me is much higher. So don't try and to broadcast yourself, but rather be very targeted and offer value in the interaction that you're going to.
So I have saved up. I have my money. I've seen a business opportunity. I've gone ahead. I've even taken the risk. I've done it. I'm getting the profit. I'm seeing the money. But when I do my expenditures, I pay the salaries, I still have nothing. Yes, like you can see the money coming in, but once you pay everything, nothing is coming. So I still can't even I'm like where I was before, but things are being done. So how can I get out of that cycle?
Wow. I have to stand for this one. Because we have been doing research on business, and it is because we do not understand business in this country. What you have just described is what many Kenyans are going through right now, where you start a business not understanding how I, as the entrepreneur, make money from my business. So ladies, pay attention. If you are a factor of production in your business, what does that mean? You offer some of the services, you manage people who offer the services, you function in that business. It's not something that's separate from you. If you are a factor of production in your business, you must get a salary. And if you cannot pay yourself a salary, then that business may not be viable. I know this is hard to understand, but if a business can provide its services without paying for all the factors of production, then it's not a viable business. And the frustration comes in that you're saying it has potential. Yes, it does have, but it's not able to pay for all the factors of production. There's an issue there. So how entrepreneurs make money from their business? Number one, if they are a factor of production, that means they work in the business in whatever capacity. Whether you're the one who actually does the hands-on work or you manage people who do work in that business, then you need to be paid by that business. Now, when the business is starting, I know there's not a lot of cash at that time. So you can begin the process by starting off even with a small salary. Because what it does, it builds the discipline of paying yourself. So that's the primary way. The second way is then, yes, this is the other thing we do with our businesses. We steal from our businesses, our own. You know how I know that? Because you're waiting for what we call profit at the end of the month to take. And anyone who is in business, please, don't laugh. I'm telling you, that's what we do, Waithaka being number one. When I'm saying these things, it's from my personal experience. So we take that money, which the business requires, we had the term earlier on, working capital, for the next month for it to be able to work. And so if you're not paying yourself even a small amount along the way, then the frustration comes out of it, and you're unable to account for that business. If you are going to be eating the profit that you eat as an entrepreneur is called a dividend. And that comes at the end of the year, after you have paid tax. And then you declare a dividend, and then not all the profit you take, but a portion of it. Now, you see, if it's an early stage entrepreneur, you're wondering, when will I ever get to that, isn't it? And so where you pay yourself, how you make money from your business is as a factor of production. You pay yourself a salary. That will prove that it is a viable business or not. And sometimes we are wasting time on businesses that are actually not viable because they cannot pay for all the factors of production. And this is something that we're really focusing on this year at Centonomy, because we realized even those who come into entrepreneurship class, they've been in business for 5 years, but they're not paying themselves. So what they do is, when I need money, I simply go to in fact, it's not even a business account. Your account and the business account are the same. Isn't it? So you simply withdraw. So here's a way to think about it. If you were to hire an employee like Washeke did, she employed me to be CEO, would I be allowed to simply go to the Centonomy account and withdraw when I need cash? No. That's an indiscipline as far as business is concerned. And so you now need to begin to build the systems and the discipline in your business to pay yourself a salary. So unless you commit yourself to learning about investments, and that's what we do at Centonomy, we train you so that you understand when you walk into the room of all these wonderful investment banks and investment analysts, you already have a plan for yourself. And especially at this time, before she spends any of the golden handshake that she has received, because sometimes it looks like a lot of money, but it's not, she needs to invest in education. And if she can't be able to come for the class, buy one of the books that we have outside there, because the process of learning takes time. And what we have done, what our founder has done, Washeke Ndwati, in her book, Making Sense, is she has taken 3 stories of 3 different people on their wealth creation journey here in Kenya. So yes, read Kiyosaki, beautiful book. Read The Richest Man in Babylon. But a book like this is about people who are working in our economy. She must, and please ladies, invest in education because knowledge is power.
Wow, we could have talked the whole afternoon. So I hope that was useful to you. There's a link to the full video on Pinky's Facebook page just below. But I want you to begin to think through some of the ideas that we discussed. And next week we continue with this beautiful discussion on Talking Sense. Thank you for watching.